You know that a scale factor is the number that we multiply corresponding sides by in similar shapes. Scale factor tells us how many times bigger or how many times smaller a shape is getting. You know how to use strategies and techniques to find a scale factor between two similar shapes, especially when it's an easy one where you're able to see it and you just automatically know how many times bigger it's getting. Sometimes, though, the scale factor can be a little bit more complicated, maybe a number, a times table that we don't have memorized, or maybe it involves a decimal that's harder to think about. In this video, we're going to talk about how to use the strategies that you know how to use and apply them in a more complicated and tricky problem. Let's begin with these two parallelograms, and this is probably pretty easy for you to find the scale factor from parallelogram A to B. You might already be able to tell me what the scale factor is, but let's slow down to make sure that we can show and prove what we know to be true. The first step that I always want you to use is to compare corresponding sides. So the slanted short side of parallelogram A corresponds or matches the short slanted side of parallelogram B. I'm going to use color to show that those are corresponding. I'm also going to draw an arrow to help myself remember. I'm saying 4 times something is going to cause it to grow into 12. How many times bigger is 12 compared to 4? I know, this is one I have memorized, I know 4 times 3 equals 12. I can check my work and make sure that that's true for all sets of corresponding sides. And I know that the base, the long side 6 of parallelogram A, corresponds to the base long side of parallelogram B. And so I'm going to ask myself the same question. 6 times what will cause it to turn into 18? I know 6 times 3 equals 18. And so I can prove that these two parallelograms are similar because all of the corresponding sides grow by the same amount. They all get 3 times longer, which means the scale factor is 3. Okay, that was an easy one. But let's use those same strategies in this complicated example. These two triangles are similar, triangle A and triangle B. How can I figure out the scale factor between triangle A and B? Well, you know the first thing I'm always going to do is begin by comparing the corresponding sides. It's really important that I show with color and arrows what I know about how they compare so that I can keep track of what I know and what I don't know. All right? So the arrow tells me that 6 times something is going to equal 15. I don't know 6 times what equals 15. I don't know this answer. I know 6 times 2 is 12, 6 times 3 is 18, but 6 times what equals 15? That's not one I have off the top of my head. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write down what I know so far. And that equation that I was just thinking about out loud, I was saying 6 times something equals 15. And whatever that something is, that's going to be the scale factor. How do I solve that though? To do that, what I'm going to recommend that you do is use a division fact family. Division fact family is when you can take a multiplication equation and switch it around into a related division equation. So for example, 2 times 3 equals 6. If I wanted to flip that into division, I could say 6 divided by 2 equals 3. That's a fact family. It uses the same 3 numbers, switching around between multiplication and division. We know those are opposites of each other. We can do the same thing with our work over here. 6 times what equals 15? I can switch it into division and I can say, well, then I know that 15 divided by 6 is going to equal that blank, whatever that blank is. Remember when I said, don't be afraid of using calculators this unit. I don't know what 15 divided by 6 equals. So pause the video here, go type it into a calculator. I'll give you a second. Once I type it into my calculator, I find out that 15 divided by 6 equals 2.5, which then means that I know that 6 times 2.5 equals 15. And that also means then that the scale factor is 2.5. So whenever you are coming up to a scale factor that's a little tricky to find, make sure you begin by comparing corresponding sides, writing down the equation that you know you're trying to solve, and then flip it into a division fact family so that you can actually just type it straight into a calculator. Use what you know, even in complicated problems.